Tonight, Lee gears up again and Margot is soon to become a hurricane. And now the latest around the wide world of tropics. Your tropical weather bulletin for September the 10th. So around the world right now we have 3 tropical systems: Tropical Storm Hova in the Eastern Pacific, Hurricane Lee now as a Category 2, and Hurricane Margot inside of the Atlantic joining Lee. We are currently code blue and there has been 56 storms this year out of the average of 92. In the Atlantic is day 102 of hurricane season. We have Hurricane Lee just north of the Leeward Islands, Tropical Storm Margot inside the Central Atlantic, and Invest 97L that's just came off of Africa and has a 20% formation chance in the next 7 days. In the Eastern Pacific is day 118 of hurricane season and we only have Lonely Hova here, and nothing's really looking good for this storm. It is most likely going to be dissipating very soon. Nothing's looking good for it, and that's all we have for the Eastern Pacific right now, just Tropical Storm Hova. In the Western Pacific we have 91W with a 0% formation chance, that won't be going anywhere, and 90W with a 10% formation chance, still has a 10% but also will most likely not be going anywhere as proven on models. Now on to the North Indian, we currently have nothing and we won't have anything for the next 7 days. There's no areas of interest. There's been 3 tropical storms, 2 cyclones and 2 major cyclones so far this year, and nothing's really expected to come out of this basin as proven by this time of year. However, in October and November it can spice up a bit with some areas of interest coming there and there. This is the satellite imagery. Here is Lee looking a lot different from what it did look like at its peak of a Category 5. However, it is definitely gearing back up to strengthen again in the near future. It is supposed to strengthen into possibly another Category 4. And that would be its second peak inside of the Atlantic, just north of the Bahamas. Here is Margot as it sits here developing and will eventually become a hurricane in the coming days. It is looking definitely better than what it was. Still needs to organise a bit more into more of a developed storm. And here is Hova looking very different to its Category 5 peak. And you can sort of see it start to fade away. You can still see the tropical storm characteristics there, and you can still see that it definitely came from a big system. However, it is very quickly dying off and will be gone very soon. In the computer models, we currently have Lee, which you can see there, developing slightly more and increasing in strength there, and then gets blows off to the north. Margot, as you can see, picks up pace and becomes a hurricane just about here, and then would then also get blown off to the north. And then 97L, you can see this on the bottom right there, coming into frame as it comes off Africa and developing into another tropical system down at the bottom. We'll see what that seems to do. In the Eastern Pacific, you can see Hova here dying off, and that's about it for the Eastern Pacific in the 5-day period. It is just Hova which frizzles away, and that is ill. That is all for the Eastern Pacific. Just a couple. In the Western Pacific, however, it is a different story. As you can see, there is completely nothing instead of Hova. There's 90W, which gets dragged into the extratropical cyclone, and 90W just frizzles away, and that's absolutely it for the 5-day period. Nothing to the Western Pacific, which is looking very interesting for this time. You'd expect it to be relatively active with its hot sea surface temperatures and low shear, but it's absolutely nothing to note inside the Western Pacific inside the 5-day period. Anyway, moving on to the longer range, we have the Atlantic here. You can see Lee, when he gets pulled up, just goes straight into Canada, it looks like. And what seems to be 97L comes into a major hurricane here, as you can see. It seems to develop very quickly and just picks up pace in a very compact system there. Very big. Margot just sits up there, does a little loop, and just frizzles away up there, doesn't really do anything. It just seems to develop into a hurricane and slowly just start dying off. There is just completely nothing apart from one system which makes its way through here, as you can see, but doesn't really go anywhere. It gets a bit of circulation in there, but just frizzles off into the Pacific. There is completely nothing here. It's just some clouds, really. That's all it is for the Eastern Pacific. In the Western Pacific is pretty much the same. There is just completely nothing. There is a couple of extratropical systems that make their way past Japan, and there's actually one coming in across the international date line, as you can see there. A bit of rain going past the Korean Peninsula and the top of Japan, but apart from that, nothing really of note here. Just a bunch of systems which make their way through, a bunch of extratropical systems, and a bunch of just occasional lows that make their way past. However, on the Force 15 store you can buy season animations and track animations, and most importantly hoodies and pillows, which Nathan's about to throw at me, as you can see here. The silly range looks like this. As you can see, there's 97L, really big system there, a very big major hurricane inbound, and there's another system that you can see at the bottom there that tries to develop and does end up becoming a tropical system. As you can see there, a borderline tropical storm it looks like, just coming off there just north of the Leeward Islands, once again where Lee is currently positioned, and Margot just frizzles off into the north as an extratropical cyclone. Nothing else of note inside the Atlantic, and that is about it for the silly range inside the Atlantic. In the Eastern Pacific, there is nothing at note at first. However, there's a little system there that you can see that picks up a bit and tries to develop, and then sort of flops a tiny bit. It develops, it becomes a tropical storm, it looks like a borderline tropical storm, and then doesn't really do anything else apart from that. No other areas of interest like I can actually see come onto screen at all here, which is very interesting. A very dead period currently for the GFS. For the Eastern Pacific, I would thought it'd be a bit more active, but I guess not. Obviously, these models can change over time. The Western Pacific, once again, is very bare. Doesn't really seem to be anything going on to the Western Pacific, just a bunch of troughs, lows, and extratropical cyclones. That will most likely change over time, as we are until September, where peak season is currently active. And, you know, these models will definitely change over time. There is nothing else currently that GFS is predicting, but I'm sure there will be something that will frizz up, hopefully not affecting too much land. On this day then, it's September 10th, 2003 we're going back to. It's exactly 20 years ago from today. We have Tropical Depression Jemena, Tropical Storm Kevin in the Eastern Pacific, Category 4 Isabel, the one with the big eye, in the Atlantic, and Category 5 Typhoon Maimi just to the east of Taiwan and approaching the Okinawa Islands. Jemena was entering the Central Pacific, as you can see, and Hurricane Isabel is soon to become a Category 5 at this point, just above the Caribbean. And that is all for on this day, September 10th, 2003. Right then, so today on September 10th, 2023, the next name inside the Atlantic is Nigel, followed by Ophelia. The next name inside the Eastern Pacific is Kenneth, followed by Lydia. And in the Central Pacific, it is still Hone, still waiting for that. So 56 storms currently this year and 92 average. The next storm name inside the Western Pacific is Koinu, followed by Balavan. In the North Indian Ocean, it is also still Tej, waiting for that as well, currently code blue. And in the Southern Hemisphere, it is the same old name. So you got Jasper, followed by Kirali, and then Lincoln in the Australian region. In the South West Indian, you've got Alvaro, Belal, then Candice. And in the South Pacific, you've got Lola, Mal, and Nat. That is all for tonight's Tropical Weather Bulletin.